So you think about moving out of state? Here's some tips in my story about how I moved from Washington to Arizona. Moving to Arizona was pretty spontaneous. I was joking around about it at first, but then in July is when I actually started looking into it, and I moved here in October. So that was 3 months of getting everything planned and getting all the logistics down. These are some things that you're gonna need to know if you're looking for an apartment. You need to make a budget. Most apartments require that you make a gross income that's 2.5 to 3 times your base rent. Meaning if your base rent is $800 a month, then you're gonna need to be making $2,000 to $2,400 a month. And you're gonna have to prove that with pay stubs. The reason why this is important is so when you're searching for apartments, you're looking for apartments that are in your budget range. I recommend you download HotPads, and with that you can put your maximum for rent, and then it will generate all the apartments that you can afford. So if 800 is what you can afford, you put that as your max. You don't look at any other apartments other than the ones that are inside your budget range. After you budget your rent, you need to budget your utilities, groceries, furniture, and subscriptions like Netflix and Amazon. I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty about budgeting, but I can show you guys how I budgeted for this move and how I still budget in a separate video if you guys would like. Another thing that you have to think about is moving costs. Moving costs consist of deposits, pet fees, application fees, if you have to put first month's, last month's down. I had to put over $1,000 down to move in. That's because I have a pet and just based off my credit. So if you're thinking about moving, I'd start saving right away. I started saving in July when I started considering to move. Another thing that you really need to consider is getting a job and applying right away. There were 2 things that I said if I didn't have, I wasn't gonna move. One was a couple months rent and moving costs down. The second was getting a job. If I didn't get a job, then I was not gonna move. I took a quick trip to Arizona in August to look at apartments, and by then I had a interview with Starbucks and I got the job on the spot. I moved here, the next day I started working at Starbucks. I don't work at Starbucks anymore. It was just kind of a way for me to get extra pocket money and just to have a job secured by the time I moved here. I transferred jobs to T-Mobile. It was a little harder for me to transfer from T-Mobile to T-Mobile because there weren't as many available spots, and the spots that were available, they were looking for people who are bilingual, so it just kind of took me longer to get a job at T-Mobile than at Starbucks. Another thing that you want to consider about when you get a job is the wages are going to be different from state to state. Washington, the wages are a lot higher than Arizona, but that's because the cost of living is a lot cheaper here than it is in Washington. If you want to move out of state, you need to start applying now, and hopefully by the time you get there, you have a job secured. Another thing that you're gonna have to consider is about the location of where you're gonna live. What was really important to me is that I was near my aunt and my uncle. I live about 10 to 15 minutes away from them. There was an apartment complex with nice amenities. The utilities was a part of that base rent. It allowed my dog, and it was one of the cheapest ones. But the thing is, it was further away from my aunt, my uncle, and my sister and my aunt kept on telling me that it was in a dirty location and that it was too far. So I ended up not living there, even though I was really considering moving there. I like where I live now because there's a Safeway right across the street. If I ever needed anything, I could just walk across the street and go grab it. There's also an urgent care and a pharmacy in the same parking lot, which is important to me. So you want to make sure that wherever you live, you're not driving really far to get to work, to school, or to church. That is just near places that are important to you. The last thing I'm going to talk about is actually physically moving all your stuff. There were actually a lot of ways that I was considering moving. I was thinking about putting everything in my car and then shipping my car down, but oh my goodness, if you're not serious about shipping your car, do not fill out your information online. Those moving people are ruthless. They will call you and they will email you and they will text you. Even after you move, they will call you, leave you messages. They're ruthless. Anyways, I considered doing that. I considered flying and then bringing my things as a check-in. I was really close to renting a U-Haul and stuffing my stuff in the U-Haul and then driving it down. It was actually pretty cheap. It was gonna cost like $74 for 4 days to rent a trailer. The reason why I didn't do it was because I had to install a hitch on my car, which I didn't have, and that was gonna cost like $300. And Kai got an ear infection right before I moved, so I had to spend $200 on medicine, and that just kind of took out of my moving costs. What I ended up doing was I bought, and I'll put a picture. Anyways, what I ended up doing was I bought one of those things that go on top of your car, and I stuffed as many things on top there, and I put the rest in my car. And I have a Honda CR-V, so I have a pretty big trunk to stuff boxes and everything in. And what you could actually do is on airlines, you could check in boxes. I know for Southwest, the first 2 are free, and my mom flew down and she brought a couple, and then my aunt and my 2 cousins flew down like a week later, and for that they flew Southwest. That's 6 boxes that you could bring down. So all the things that I couldn't fit in my car, like my books and my movies and some shoes that I had that I couldn't fit in my car, I put in the box, and then they brought it down, which was really nice. Also my guitar. That's my story of how I moved down, and some tips and some advice. If you have any questions, make sure to comment below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.